fun stuff. Let's see if this is going to work. I'm going to try a longer one this time. This is related to a previous post I put up about intermittent internet connection. And I talked about your cabling in your house and how it might not be right, and Wi-Fi. And I should elaborate a little bit. That's what I'm going to do here. First of all, to fix the wiring in your house, you can probably have an electrician who has what's called data comm experience. And that's what we're dealing here with the internet is data communications. It's not electrical. It's not like 120 volts comes in your house, comes to a switch and goes to a light. No, it's signals. It is a jumping up and down signal on that cable at a certain frequency. It is like a radio, but it's on the cable. So just like on radio, you can have interference and it goes in and out. If you ever listen to AM radio or even FM, you drive too far away and it goes in and out. That's what happens with the signal on the cable. But if you can get a datacom electrician, he can sort out the wiring in your CATV. Now, a lady who lived across the street with me used to have a problem with cable TV in her basement. She called in a guy, and it was a bad splitter, and they replaced the splitter, and that took care of the CATV. I guarantee it would not take care of an internet if she had put a modem down there. So if you want to look at your cabling, you can get an electrician who is familiar with data communications to come in and sort that out, specifically where you're telling them it's an internet related problem. Okay, the second issue I talked about, I don't like Wi-Fi and that I use Ethernet wherever I can, but I didn't elaborate. Most houses are not wired with Ethernet. Maybe the newer houses, and I expect the mansions in California, have Ethernet running everywhere, and it's all fast. And so they have ports they can plug right into, or they have what's called a hotspot, and I'll talk about that more later, for Wi-Fi. But older homes, you don't have Ethernet running in your house, but you do have, you probably have, if it's a newer home, like built in the last 20 years, you probably have telephone outlets all over the place. And they probably were installed using what's called Cat3 cable. Cat3 cable allows two different landline telephone numbers in your house. That's the reason that old telephone, 2 wires, 4 wires, 6 wires, whatever it was, moved over to Cat3 cable, because it would allow at least 2 landlines in a home. And I had that at one time. I had a business number in my home, and I had a regular home number. And the house I'm in now, when I moved in, I have telephone outlets literally in every room. And I don't use that anymore. A lot of people don't even have landlines. They use a cell phone for the main line. I do have a landline that I get from Cox. It comes out of the back of the modem. And I just connect it directly to a wireless sort of shared system where I have these handhelds at various places in the house, and I can pick up the telephone and talk to anybody at any time. But I don't use something plugged in the wall. So I have all these Cat3 cables run all over the house to outlets and rooms that no one's ever going to plug a telephone in. So all that Cat3 wiring in your house can be repurposed to run Ethernet. Now, granted, it'd only be at 1 gigabit per second, and probably 5 years from now, the minimum Ethernet speed you're going to need your house is probably 5 or 10 gigabits a second. Because the internet of everything is coming. My washing machine currently talks to the internet and tells me when a load is done. Refrigerators talk to the internet. If you have a hot smart devices, you can turn your lights on and you can turn your lights off with your cell phone. You can have wireless webcams that are watching everything. The internet of everything is coming, and that wireless is trying to catch up. There is a new wireless standards that lets you get up to 600 gigabits per second, but that is a separate device from what Cox is giving you. You're not going to get more than 300 out of Cox, and you barely chance get that. Okay, so there is a way to repurpose all that telephone cable in your house by a datacom electrician coming in, and he can rewire things because it tends, all those things are going to come in one location. You may see on a wall somewhere a long board and all these wires come in. They don't have cables on them, they just have wires, and they've been called what, punched down into this long strip of pins sticking out. A datacom electrician can change those and put Ethernet connectors on those cables and install what's called a data switch there, and then he will figure out which cable goes into the room where your router is sitting, repurpose that cable for Ethernet, put a connector on it, plug it into your router, and now you have Ethernet way down wherever the junction was, where all the telephone cables came in and connected together. And telephones, you can do that. You can just share them all directions and without any concern about anything. Can't do that with Ethernet. You have to use what's called a data switch. And usually in wherever the telephone stuff is located, you'll find an outlet, and it does have to be powered. But somebody can do that. And I'm not talking about a big rewire. You're probably, I have Ethernet in my office where the modem is, and I connect directly to that. But out of that modem, there is a connection that goes to the wall, uses that Cat3 cable to put an Ethernet connection in my wife's office or her studio. I have one running downstairs that I'm talking to you on right now, and I also have another one run all the way upstairs, and its purpose is hotspot. Now, I mentioned that earlier. If you have Ethernet running to the top floor and Ethernet running to the bottom floor, and maybe just your router sitting on the main floor, if you have Ethernet at the top and Ethernet at the bottom, you can buy a device called a hotspot. There's another name for it. It is not an expander. Those are different kind of relay type devices. This is something that ties directly from the hotspot via an Ethernet cable all the way down to your router, gets a 1 gigabit second per rate, and it transmits Wi-Fi up there. Three separate, mine does three, one's regular slow speed and two fast speeds, and it's three Wi-Fi signals that someone on the third floor can connect to when they can't see or get a good stable connection to the Wi-Fi signals that are on my middle floor or the Wi-Fi signals that are on my lower level. So I have a hotspot on the top floor, and I have a hotspot in the basement, and my router provides a hotspot on the main floor. So I have good Wi-Fi coverage throughout the house, but I don't have it from a single Cox router. You can't get it that way. It's too much. If I tried that, I'd never get a signal in the basement, and what I would get upstairs would be the slowest speed connection possible. So there is a way of repurposing your telephone cable to get Ethernet. If you're building a new home, you're probably smart enough to know that you should put Ethernet in and be logical about it, intelligent about where you put it. Put those, obviously, in offices, libraries, common areas where the kids might congregate. You want Ethernet there. But there's a way of repurposing what you have. And a datacom electrician could be able to do that. Now, what it costs, I can't tell you. If you're going to keep it to a minimum, you only want Ethernet in 3 places. You're going to only repurpose 3 of those Cat3 cables that come up from the basement. It shouldn't be a difficult task to put cables ends on the right kind of Ethernet cable connectors on, and install a data switch, and blah, blah, blah. It's not so bad. That's enough. Find yourself a datacom electrician, or whatever. Maybe there are people just called datacom engineers, I don't know now, that can take care of all that problem and fix out your Ethernet/CATV cabling, and also potentially rework your old telephone cable to provide Ethernet, which is way, way faster than Wi-Fi in various places throughout your home. That's enough for today. We'll see if it worked. This is the 19th of June, 2025. I hope it records.